Larry Derrigan,
Here.
Esme Martinson,
Here.
Magdalene Dale.
Here.
We do have a quorum. Next, I would just like to welcome everybody to this evening's Impact Aid hearing and explain a little about how the process will happen. Our administration has prepared some materials that they will give a short presentation on, and then we will open the floor for some public comments by those parents or staff on the other side that would like to share. And you're welcome to submit anything in writing to the administration or the board, or to, well, you can't really raise your hand, but just kind of like, hey, I would like to talk us, and then we will call on you. That's all I have, and I'll let the administration take it.
All right, Miigwech, thank you. This is my first time doing this, so I watched the video recording of last year's Impact Aid today, and so got some idea. So please bear with me. Linda is going to be sharing her screen so that those on the call can see the document that I will be talking about and going through. So a little bit of background on what Impact Aid is. The purpose of Impact Aid is to provide formula grants to school districts in lieu of tax revenues that are not available because of non-taxable federal land and installations. Impact Aid is a responsibility of the U.S. Department of Education. One of the few school aid programs where funds are paid directly to school districts from the U.S. Department of Education, as opposed to aid that comes through the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. While Impact Aid is not intended to cover the full cost of educating students, it is an important source of funding for qualifying school districts. For us, 2019-2020 Impact Aid revenue represented approximately 20% of the district's total budget. So what we've prepared for tonight is a 41-page document, and I promise I'm not going to read it word for word, but we'll certainly highlight some aspects of it that that I think are really important. This document here is one that has been shared with the board, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think that if somebody wants to take a look at it or have it sent to them, is that right, Linda, that we would be able to have this on our website and have it available for somebody to read through?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that information that you're seeing is what I just went through. And in looking at a few highlighted pieces, the next of note is found on page 2, which is the 2019-2020 Impact Aid that's received that you're taking a look at now. So the total Impact Aid received is $2,056,153.39, which represents 20% of the district's budget. So what sort of support in learning does Impact Aid help with? On page 3, just a few bullet points. The district really is able to use those funds in as full a circle as possible, from helping with transportation, technology, summer school, staffing, professional development, etc. The district is in constant collaboration with the Red Cliff community, from which, as you know, the majority of our students live. So a wide range of excellent hands-on learning opportunities for Bayfield students took place in the Red Cliff community, from maple syrup, Sugarbush, and that's been happening with the Red Cliff Farm in collaboration with them, Our alt-ed program with Rick Erickson, they do an excellent job of managing our neighborhood Sugar Bush and then partnering with Red Cliff community. There are field trips and projects like tracking wolf packs, creating signage. I know that there have been students with teachers that have gone to Red Cliff and done artwork, and you can see examples on the page 4 that you're taking a look at now. So the middle school and high school drum group hope to visit the Red Cliff Early Childhood Center, the ECC, and the Elderly Center in the spring if the status of the pandemic allows. We're in this really unique year where some of these things just haven't had a chance to really come to fruition because of the reality of COVID. So there's a lot of planning that's going on. There are discussions and creative ways to reach out and truly collaborate with the Red Cliff community. On page 5, you see the agenda. So we're walking through that right now. What I'm sharing with you is called the District Administrative Report. On page 6 through page 12 is the Indian Policies and Procedures, the IPPs. And that just goes through in detail the intent of the school district of Bayfield to really collaborate and have open communication with Native families and work together to help meet educational needs. So there's a committee called Johnson O'Malley Committee that meets on a regular basis, and that is made up of Red Cliff committee members as well as Bayfield School District committee members, and really focuses on what is it that can be done to best support the educational needs, from school supplies to tutoring to programming, and making certain that Native culture, that it also encompasses language, of course, is a living, breathing reality to our school district. So policy 9101 is what constitutes those pages. And then moving on to page 13, Public Law 81-874 on page 13. Wow, that font can't be any smaller. So what it is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The Board of Education, in recognition of the requirements to ensure tribal and parental involvement in the education of children residing on tribal lands, does hereby establish assurances, policy and procedure relative to ESEA Title 8, the Impact Aid Act. So this gives you the legal language about really what impact aid is and how it needs to happen. And this is something that the Red Cliff Tribe and the district uphold. And here's the language that is the framework from which the collaboration and programming happens. What do we do at the district? This is one of my favorite parts of this report because it really highlights from kindergarten all the way through the high school, the great effort and care and reflection and assessments that are done by our teaching staff and our support staff to ensure that we are really embedding Indigenous culture into every grade level. You know, from kindergarten to incorporating Ojibwe-Moan, the Ojibwe language, counting, really reinforcing and continuing what so many of our children have an opportunity to learn and experience when they're at the pre-K level. And it goes grade by grade, highlighting all that the district does to ensure, again, and really above and beyond Act 31. So really taking this very seriously and continuing to support our students, whether they're tribal members or not, to see that there's not only important learning value, but also academic credibility in learning an Indigenous culture. So that is that portion of the report, and that goes through page 23. I do want to note that this next section is information that is from last year, August 2019. Our special education director and director of pupil services has been on bereavement leave. Her father passed, and so she has been focusing on her family and on that time in life, and has, for obvious reasons, not been able to update the information here. So I have had a discussion with Nicole Boyd, school board president, to let her know that that information is not current, and she felt that it was okay to include this section again, with the intention that once Stephanie is back on board, that we will be able to create this portion of the report for you and share that out. All right, moving on to page 26. This portion of the report, when I had a chance to take a look at other school districts that have impact aid hearings, I found that districts go in all sorts of directions on supplemental information and information that they feel is important to share out. So discipline data, that has been a request, taking a look at total suspensions, days for each school year. We can see the numbers represented there from 2015-16 to our current status. We are 100% virtual. So the number represents that we haven't had any suspensions to date this academic year. There was also a request to take a look at bullying and the referrals there. So that has decreased significantly from 2015-16, where we had 28. Last year, we had 2. So there's a lot of focus and effort that has gone into working with students to resolve and to really understand that that's not something that is acceptable, and the numbers show that. The next portion on page 28 is our homeschool coordinator report. There's a lot of numbers and a lot of work that goes into compiling all this, and I know that Annie does a fantastic job in keeping tabs on all aspects of how are students doing, outreach to families when need be, and really taking a look at where do we need to focus, how can we support our students and communicate with families. So her report really drills down on grades, on attendance, on how our students are doing academically. That portion of the report goes to page 39. And then lastly, we have our 2020-2021 district budget. And that's something that really shows exactly, people ask me, well, how does a public school run? Where does the money go? Line by line, you can see what money and expenses we have in order to run our schools and offer the excellent education and support that we do. Comparative costs is the final page, page 41. That just puts it in a slightly different visual for you. We can see, sort of tease out the previous page on page 40 that shows where funds are going, food service, etc. Then on page 41, we see comparative costs there. And again, just a different visual for you. So in a nutshell, there is our district administrator report. And now we move on to public input, comments, and questions.
Are there any comments, questions from the board? Parents?
Can you repeat it? I'm just kidding.
We did. You're late.
It kept taking me to the executive director's one, and it doesn't matter which one I went into. It went to the executive meeting. I'm like, what the heck?
I sent her the link like 5 times, guys, so.
I have a question. This is Edwina. Where can we find this document? Is this
Linda,
a-
is this something that you'll put on our website?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
It
and this
should
is
be
for
on
school
board
year.
docs too. You can get it through board docs.
That's right.
Yeah,
was-
so Edwina, if you go to the district website and then go under the district tab and look for board docs.
Okay, thank you.
And if you have a problem with that, I can just let me know or send me an email or something and I can email it to you.
Hey there, this is Jared Blanche, Education Director. One question that came up during our last JOM meeting is we were looking at the Indian policy that is down at Bayfield School and said it was revised, I believe, about a month or so ago. I want to see if it was possible to get make public the revision changes that were on that and could share it with me and the JOM committee as well, just so we're aware of what was possibly changed in that. We did go through it and it seemed pretty comprehensive, so we did agree with that. And seeing the listing of all the Ojibwe focused and culture focused activities that happen within the school year is always great to hear too. I think if we can get more of that information out for a lot of our parents to see what's happening, they'd really appreciate that a lot as well. So a lot of good stuff. Miigwech.
There wasn't anything that was really advised. We just or revised. We just have to send that out every year. So it should be the same as last year.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
But Jared, we certainly can get culture specific information out. I think that's great. I mean, the more that we can share that as it's happening, I think the better, and just, utilizing our website in a slightly different way, or social media, or, newsletter form. Those are all pieces that I think the community would appreciate, and we're certainly working on those now.
Definitely. I think just celebrating what we're doing down there, and so people can see where all this effort's being put into will be great. So miigwech.
I have a comment, Beth, in regard to Indian education and the situation right now, and where it has sort of forced our hand to be a stronger and better partner with our tribal community, and particularly with our health services programming, because I don't think culture and language is purely teaching our children words or tying them to historical Anishinaabe events. And so those are things that I really see as a silver lining to the situation that I feel need to be highlighted, you know, in next year's hearing or however we want to use it. Because I have seen people come to the table who we historically may have not seen at the table as much, including our tribal council, who reached out directly to our school board to say, hey, we want to be a partner and we want to be part of the solution to helping education be the best it can during the pandemic. That was really a lot of rich conversation that took place in that joint meeting we had with our council and board. And I really just feel like we've kind of had on hold for a really long time the tribal MOU, and the significance of that has been referenced in many situations. There's board members who were here prior to me, Debbie and Cindy particularly, who had experienced the work that was done under the MOU and the impacts it can have. You can see we have Jared at our meetings every month. He is actively our education director, engaged in hirings at the school district. That should be recognized in this plan. That should be told to the entire community that, hey, the tribe has a representative on the hiring panel of every single position at the school district. I think Jared practically is a school district employee with how much he's on those interviews. So I would like to see those things recognized in addition to just the literal outputs that I see, which are great. You know, I think it's great to be teaching all of the language and culture in all of the grades, but there's more to understanding culture and helping families and kids with education than just those components. This is like my master pitch to have the board look at rekindling the MOU with the tribe. I know that we have a lot of common goals and we could do a lot of good work together with our council and our leadership and the programming, because that's what it is. That's what I want our school to be. And I know that's what our community wants our school to be, is a community-driven school. So those are my thoughts, guys.
Great. Yeah, I agree. I know since taking this position at the beginning of September, I've really appreciated the willingness and graciousness of partnering with different Red Cliff folks, especially at the clinic. As you said, Nicole, you know, lots of meetings. This pandemic has, we all know the extent of meetings that we've had in order to sometimes rethink how we are creating a teaching and learning environment. And it's very appreciated. And I really don't have any intention of having that momentum slow down at all. In fact, I think, you know, it's opening up other avenues. At no time have I had a conversation where a program or somebody in a division has said, no, we're not interested in that. In regards to collaborating with the district, they're really open and wanting to, you know, keep moving forward. So I appreciate your words on reviving and retooling the MOU. I think it's a great step.
And I'm sure at the Red Cliff level for the education department here, we are all for rekindling the MOU. That all sounds great to us. And any way that I can be a part of that, that'd be great. And anything that I believe we can get worked out with council, I'm sure they'd love to be a part of that as well. So all sounds good to me. Thank you, Rich.
Is there anyone else on the line who has comments or questions for administration or board? Any staff you see on the line?
Hey, I was trying to raise my hand virtually.
I don't think we have that feature, but you're welcome to share.
Wait, hang on. It says lower my hand. Okay. Hey, it's Clarissa Brissette. I was just wanted to make a comment about I saw, like in there that it had said that there was like drumming and like cultural events like offered, and I just want to let you guys know that like I feel like with the pandemic and stuff that people are like really missing that component. Like powwows got canceled all summer and people are just like wanting to hear that, it's like good for them. It's good for their mental, physical health. But it could be done virtually. And I would just like to see that maybe happen. And then also too, I was just like I know that like that they touch it base on like Redcliffe history and Redcliffe government and stuff, but I feel like it shouldn't just be talked about like during culture class or just like during Diane's class or Mara's class, but it should be like in like a regular like history class, or it should be like in like all the teachers' curriculum. Hang on, Bev. Because a lot of the stuff I didn't learn until like freaking college, and I've lived here my whole life, and it was like, what the heck? Like I didn't even know like about like a lot of stuff until I was out of school. So
Thank you, Clarissa, for sharing. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Sure, this is Edwina again. I'm just gonna ask a question about the professional development sessions. It did mention that there was some intercultural professional development sessions facilitated by the Redcliffe personnel. Would anybody have any more information on that or how that was put together? Because I guess the way it reads it, professional development meaning the teachers by Redcliffe personnel. Am I correct on that?
I know that we have collaborated for some mental health, collaboration with the clinic. I'm speaking slowly because I'm thinking through last year when I was a teacher, just different connections that we were making are what was made available. I know that DPI has a lot of David O'Connor, workshops and webinars that book studies that are connected outside of Redcliffe per se, Edwina. So I too know that our alt-ed programs do a lot of connecting there and getting their alt-ed staff connected with what I would call, instruction that is also professional development. Those are the things that are coming to mind right now. How we go forward is, I think, what Jared is expressing and what Nicole said too, is just partnering more with Redcliffe. What is it that we can bring to our staff, that our staff can go to Redcliffe to? The road goes both ways, and it's challenging with this pandemic, but I think we certainly can begin the conversations this late fall and winter to see what the needs are, and then go forward with just connecting people. We do have in our academic calendar time set aside for professional development. And so much of that has been consumed by this fall, just learning the technology and learning learning, the learning management system that we're using to deliver our virtual instruction. So now it's time to shift. Now it's time to say, okay, let's do this even better. And that does mean professional development. And I think we have some really strong voices in our community and on our board and in our staff who want this and who do see the value, not only from a cultural perspective, but obviously from an academic perspective. What is it that we can learn? And I think Clarissa really hit on it when she said, geez, so many of us grew up, whether we lived in Red Cliff or Ojibwe elsewhere, learning about history and about contemporary issues once we got to college. And I think we have an opportunity at this district to give our students and support our families so that they know it year after year after year as they're growing up. And that's the direction that I really feel that we have great potential to go in. So I appreciate your comment about professional development. I'm always all about learning more, listening to people, understanding more, and not just from a historical perspective, but what's happening, today in Indian country, and what does that mean for our students and families. Thank you
Thanks,
for your comments. Yeah.
Is that all we have for the presentation, Beth?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I wasn't sure who moves to the next point. Sorry.
We don't, after we have public input, there's not really any action that needs to be taken.
Okay.
So if everyone has said their piece and heard their piece, we're welcome to adjourn.
And I do, just before we do, if anybody does want the document and they're finding it difficult to find on the website, please pick up the phone and call or shoot me an email. I'll be happy to get it to you in some form. So miigwech.
Could you just email it to me, Beth?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll move we adjourn.
Second.
We have an adjournment motion by Glenn and a second by Larry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Bye.